Hello. Okay, first of all, thank you for your video. As you've seen from the comments on your video, most of the people have enjoyed what you have to say, and so have I. Keep them coming. I want you to know that it's not my intention to make a mockery of your video. I'm not here to criticize it. I actually agree with several of the points that you make, but with such a provoking title, I think you should be careful to double-check some things and avoid treating conspiracy theories as if they're obvious truths. If you kind of see me looking around, it's because I wrote some notes on my computer as to what I'm going to say. And I got to do this quickly. Hopefully I get it in 10 minutes here. Okay, so here we go. First of all, you seem to believe that a bolt-action rifle, such as the Corsano rifle Oswald used, cannot be fired 3 times within the span of the estimated 5.6 seconds given by conspiracy theorists. In fact, the exact same rifle can be fired 3 times within those 5 odd seconds, with some time left over to spare. There's an episode of Penn and Teller's Bullshit, which is a kind of funny program if you haven't seen it before. Episode 3 of Season 3, where Penn manages to do it in 3.8 seconds, which is much short of the 5.6 seconds time limit. As for the official explanation of the collapse of the World Trade Center buildings, nobody really knows why they fell. The general consensus now is that the FEMA report was inadequate, as you had mentioned. But there are several other plausible theories that would account for structural failure under the conditions on September 11th. One of the most common misconceptions about the collapse of the towers is that the fires inside caused the structural steel to melt. The first thing people look for when they're researching September 11th conspiracy theories is the melting temperature of carbon-reinforced steel, such as that inside the World Trade Center. Once they find out that the temperatures inside the buildings were not hot enough to melt the steel, then it's fair game for them to presume that fire played no part in it whatsoever. In reality, steel doesn't have to melt to lose its strength. All that's required are temperatures above 600 Celsius, which were present at the time, to weaken the steel to about half strength. And when that happens, it bends downwards, pulling the attached outer vertical beams in with it. And eventually, under the stress of the downward force from the horizontal beams, it causes the already heat-weakened vertical beams to break, and a domino effect begins with the weight of the 20 so floors on top, collapsing on one and then on another and another and another until there's nothing left. Now that's one of the theories, but that may not be correct. We don't know. There are many other theories, and I'll post a link on the side of another one that I thought was kind of interesting about failing truss rods under high temperatures. But the point is that while it is possible that something more sinister was happening on September 11th, it's just as plausible that there is an organic explanation based in the properties of the structure itself. Considering the fact that many of the 9/11 conspiracy videos on YouTube are written by Americans, and the leading opponents to the official explanation are Americans, it would seem that there are more than enough Americans who have looked at the same info I have and come up with a complete opposite conclusion. That suggests that, although I don't personally agree with them, there are many Americans who question the legitimacy of the government's explanation. I can't really comment on Miley Cyrus, and I don't even know who the hell the Jonas Brothers are because I left the States before they became popular there. But when I did live there, I never noticed anything near the amount of fanaticism about popular culture that most non-Americans seem to believe is commonplace in the States. I would often travel to Europe when I was younger during the summers. And people I met here, they would go on and on about the crap in American culture that they really loved, actually. I would, in kinder words, say that I just didn't give a shit about Britney Spears or Justin Timberlake or his boy band NSYNC, right? Or Backstreet Boys, it's the same shit. It's all just a load of minimally talented people who sing songs they haven't written and dances they haven't choreographed. But that was in the late 90s, and what I find really interesting now that I live in Europe, is that the same topics come up, but instead of people telling me their admiration for the American pop stars, they just tend to espouse a hatred towards them, and use that pop culture parallel to frame American culture in general, or Americans in general. And the irony is that they're finally on my side, but now they just don't like me, because I am American, I'm one of them. it's also a bit of hypocritical for these people to be listening to Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and dislike it so much, but then go out to the club and dance to it, which is very common here. Although everyone complains about it, there must be somebody buying these records, because on any given week you're going to see some of this crappy American pop star junk on the national sales list here in many countries in Europe. The sad thing is that very few people pay attention to the actual good American music and good culture because they're